Okay, so we're going to talk about college interview prep. So first, let me give you my credentials so you know why you're wasting your time listening to me. Kind of working backwards, but I taught interview techniques for the New York State Department of Labor to people out in their workforce. When I was an English teacher, I of course taught some public speaking strategies. And also, I sort of feel weird talking about this, but my first career way back when, I was a stand-up comedian and an actor for like 20 years, Screen Actors Guild, all that stuff. And I've the most brutal interviews in the world are with casting directors, and I've done them in New York, I've done them in Hollywood. I also had a couple of opportunities to sit on the other side of the desk and to interview actors for certain things. So, you know, that and my experience years of working with kids on their college essays, helping them get into the Ivy League, top tier schools, their reach schools. I have a pretty good handle on the interview process, and the advice I've given to students in the past, it's all come back to me that I was sort of, right on the money for the most part, with very few exceptions. So I feel confident in making this video and hopefully helping you. Okay, so the very first thing is to frame these interviews in a way that you won't be nervous. Now I know this is going to be hard for you to believe, but the interviewer is in a way more nervous than you are. They're actually hoping you'll be a good candidate. So it's the same reasoning. So when I was a high school English teacher, I also directed the plays, and I used to tell students all the time that I was really more nervous than they were when they'd audition, because look, the quicker I find the cast, the quicker we could start rehearsing. The worst nightmare is, what if I can't find anybody to play this role? So, among admissions people, it's like, what if, and alumni interviewers, what if everybody stinks? My school's going to go down the drain. So they're really rooting for you. Plus, especially when it comes to alumni, like, here's a perfect example out of my own family. My brother-in-law is a big alumni guy from Princeton. He thinks Princeton's the greatest school that ever lived. The schools live, you know what I mean. The greatest school, it's better than Harvard. It's the great, he loves school. Now, as an alumni interviewer, he is so excited to meet anybody that wants to go to Princeton. They're all a little wacky, these alumni people. I mean that with all due respect. Anyway, look, remember too, they're not getting paid. They're doing this because they love their school. So they're in your corner. So if you are the type of person that gets nervous, if you keep in mind that this person is absolutely in your corner, and this person wants you, they need you to be good, they're rooting for you, that should make it a little less stressful. Also, when it comes to the alumni interviewers, they actually don't carry a lot of weight. It's more about the negative. You know what I mean? Like, he had a heroin needle sticking out of his arm during the interview. So, as long as you're not answering your cell phone and you don't show up, with like gravy stains on your shirt, you should be okay. All right. So you can anticipate some questions that they're going to ask. Now, if they ask you, which I hate that question, but tell me about yourself, do not be your resume. Don't talk about the classes you take. Don't talk about what's on your transcripts. Don't talk about any of that. In fact, you want to prepare a story. So I'll give you a perfect example. This girl that I was working with, she loved to bake. And like 6 months prior, she, got distracted in the kitchen and caused a little fire, whatever. But her story, so she walks into the alumni interview in like a Starbucks or Barnes and Noble, and first question, tell me about yourself. And she took that story and made it that day and went, oh my God, I thought I was going to be late. So I love to bake. and I got distracted, thinking about coming here today, and the stove went on fire, and I almost, I burnt my parents' kitchen down, thankfully, blah 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 blah. Turns out that the interviewer loves to bake, and they started talking about baking for about a half an hour. And it was a real personal connection. Have a story. It could be look, when I lived in California, when I was an actor and a stand-up comic, um, you know, I would always have a prepared ad lib, a prepared story for when I walked into a casting director's office and we just started talking because they wanted to first get to know you before you read the script for the commercial or whatever. And I'd always have a story. So, many years ago, I collected Native American artifacts, um, not the illegal kind, the kind you can get. Um, you probably tell my rug in the back. It's Native American from the year 1910 or something. Anyway, so I would have a story that wasn't necessarily true. I would sit down and, oh boy, my wife is about to kill me if I buy one more artifact, and they'd say, what? Oh, I'm sorry. So I collect Native American artifacts, and then all of a sudden it's a whole conversation, and I become a three-dimensional real person. You want a story? It could be anything. If they ask you, tell me about yourself. Some don't even ask that at all. But if they do, make it real. It could be, look, it could be school related. Let's say you won an award or something, but it was like a month ago. You can say, oh, I'm so excited that I won this. But don't start talking about, oh, I love robotics and I'm on the robotics team and I want to be an engineer. Stay away from that. Okay. They're going to ask you, why do you want to go to my school? Now, in one of the first essay that I'm sorry, the first video you should really watch, which is the top 10 mistakes students make on their college application. The why us essay is addressed clearly. And the why us here is sort of the same thing. The more you know about the school specifically, what are the specific resources that school has that you want and why? In other words, if they say, why do you want to go to my school? Don't tell them it's a prestigious university with distinguished professors and unparalleled resources and a beautiful campus. What did they have that you want and why? I want to go to your school because, although I want to be an engineer, I'm not exactly sure which discipline within engineering. I've only been exposed to mechanical engineering, but I know that in your engineering department, freshmen have to take a little, chemical and, electrical, mechanical, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll get a better understanding of where my strengths are and, that sort of thing. Or I really thrive in a hands-on environment, and knowing that in your bio department, a lot of time is spent in the lab. So the more specific you are, what resources do they have, do you want, and why? Now, I was a parent who bought my book, happened to be a Harvard University alumni interviewer, and she told me the just a perfect thing that I could add here. The perfect thing. Anyway, if she has a kid that wants to go into math, a student that she's interviewing, and one student says, "Oh, I love math because it's easy," and then another student that says, "I love math because it's beautiful." Well, the first one, the one that says it's easy, this kid's going to run into really a big problem when they get to college and start taking really difficult courses. But the second one, it's beautiful. That's really the essence of this kid's passion. So, as long as the interviewer gets a sense of your passion, what you're interested in, by the way, even if you don't know, so let's say you're applying to a university undecided. And so there's no exact major, but why this university? You could say, look, I'm interested in different, I'm interested in business, but I also like politics, and I really like biology. I don't know what I want to mention, major. And one of the reasons I want to go to your school is the, Common Core curriculum. The liberal arts curriculum is going to let me figure out where my strengths are. So that's the way you sort of want to play it. Now, at some point, this person's going to say, do you have any questions for me? Now, more than likely, you're going to have a question, but just in case you don't, you want to have one prepared. So it's a question that you already know the answer to, but you want to act as if you don't. So here's a perfect example, to use. So they ask you, do you have any questions? Well, I'm very excited about doing research, and I know that I can do it as an undergraduate, but I was kind of confused. Can I start research even in my freshman year? Now, you already might know the answer, but you want to ask a question, you want to have that in your back pocket just in case nothing else comes up. Now, here is a great, great question you absolutely need to ask. You ready for this? If you were a freshman again, what's the one piece of advice you wish somebody had given you? Now, that does a couple things. Number one, it takes the heat off of you for a couple minutes so you get to kind of sit back and breathe. And secondly, you're going to probably get some really great advice. So it's a perfect question to ask. Okay. You also have to, throughout the process, be willing to be flexible, even self-deprecating, just go with the flow. And here's what I mean by that. Let's say it's an alumni interview and we're still in the age of doing it on Zoom, and your kid brother runs by and interrupts you or something. It's okay to go, I'm sorry, that was my brother. I'm going to kill him as soon as we stop. If they ask you a question that it takes you a second, it's okay to go, wow, that's a really good question. Can I get back to you in a couple of weeks on that? Have fun, relax. The more personable you are, the better. Don't be a talking head where you're just rattling off your resume and your academics. You want to be a real person. If you flub, you start talking and trip over your tongue the way I did before, it's okay. I say, I'm sorry, these are all new. My tongue got in front of my eye teeth and I couldn't see what I was saying. Old joke. I'm sorry. Don't even use that. But you get the idea. It's okay to make them laugh, to be personal. Now, let's say we get away from the whole Zoom thing, and it's in person. So, one more thing about the Zoom thing. One thing that really works well for you, I'm giving you a lot of advice that requires maybe little bullet points, little notes. The cool thing is you can do a split screen. I don't even know how to do this, but you can do a split screen on Zoom, a split screen. Say that 3 times fast on Zoom and have your questions right here. You don't want to have like questions, like you don't want to be going and blah, blah, blah. You want to be able to look over. Like whoa. Oh, thank God my mortar thing was closed. Oh boy, that could have been a disaster. But I had my little notes here. I have them off to the side. I'm not looking down like this. I mean, and you're more tech savvy than I am, so you could have it actually on the screen. If once it goes back to live and in real people person, I'm sorry, it's been a long day. I've made like 3 videos today. All right. So what you want to do is, if you say, look, is it all right if I have a pad, and you have a little pad of, in case I want to take notes, but you have little bullet points on the pad in the corner where you can just glance at it to remember what your story was you were going to say, or to remember what to ask and that kind of thing. If you have an interview with somebody in their office, whether it's an actual admissions person on a college campus or an alumni person that says, meet me at my office, if you sort of are relaxed enough, you want to kind of take a quick look around the office. Pictures on his desk, maybe anything on the wall. I mean, don't act like you're stalking the person, but perfect example. I gave this advice to somebody. They sat down and there was a picture from a Disney cruise. And this person said, oh my God, you went on a Disney cruise. So did we. And they talked about Disney for like 20 minutes. And it's about making that personal connection, which is what you want. And by the way, that doesn't mean if you see a picture like, oh, you have a dog, I have a dog. Let's, something a little bit more specific you might be able to use. If not, it's fine. So really the interview thing, to recap for you quickly, the interviewer is on your side before you even sit there. So you have no reason to be nervous. They want you to be good. The alumni interviewers don't really carry a lot of weight. It's more about the negative. So as long as you don't have to dress up in a suit, as long as you present yourself well, your cell phone's turned off, that kind of stuff, you'll be fine. Um, Prepare the questions. They're going to ask you why you want to come to the school. Be as specific as you can about the school. Those are the kind, and just be flexible. Go with the flow. If there's a mistake, if you do what I did, like drop your water, make a joke out of it. It's totally fine. Okay, so that's basically it. And the best. I hope this helps. And the best of luck. And I'm going to figure out how to turn this off now.